to really compete with those teams, it's going to be on our strategy and our cohesion as like a team.
Someone's coached, and here goes up, on. Dallas making it look easy.
You see a very young team that's extremely hungry to get better.
Welcome to Atlanta, Georgia, a city steeped in ultimate history, set for an AUDL Sunday showcase. It's the undefeated and defending AUDL champion Dallas Roughnecks taking on the hometown Atlanta Hustle. This is a rematch of last year's South Division Championship. We welcome you to the booth, everybody. With Taylor Pope, I am Evan Lepler. We are wrapping up an unbelievable Week 5 in the AUDL. Already, Taylor, 3 of the participants in championship weekend have gone down this weekend. Dallas could be the 4th. In your mind, are they vulnerable?
I think they are. You know, 16 guys on the active roster. That's including their coach, Patrick Ellerby. The second day of a 2-game stretch. Granted, they weren't really challenged by the Nashville NightWatch last night, but anytime you're on the road, you're facing a full squad in the Atlanta Hustle, I think they are vulnerable, but it's really going to take the best game from Atlanta to make it happen.
No question about that. Atlanta is capable of that. They're coming off a loss where they feel like they didn't play their best. And when you start talking about the Hustle, you begin with the 2016 league MVP. That's Dylan Tennell. He's been really good for a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a player with about 15 years of elite club experience. He has all the tools, and what he lacks maybe in athleticism at this point in his career, he makes up with his mental toughness and his ability to find those nooks and crannies in your defense.
He's got some young talent like Austin Taylor, Nathan Vickroy around him. And speaking of young talent, everywhere on the Dallas roster you find it, and perhaps no more so than with number 22, Stanley Peterson, a high-flying defensive machine.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about a guy like Stanley Peterson, he has the length, the athleticism to really allow your defense to play underneath and force the other team to, go after the long ball, knowing that you're going to be able to, make up that ground and defend those hooks. A guy like that, a human highlight reel in Stanley Peterson.
Well, the Roughnecks are without some big names today. No Jimmy Mickle, no Dylan Freechild. Kurt Gibson is injured too. Perhaps a chance for Peterson to step up even more than he has already this year. The Hustle and the Roughnecks. Dallas trying to remain undefeated. Atlanta trying to complete the championship weekend smash here to wrap up Week 5. Opening pull coming up from Atlanta. Partly cloudy skies, steamy sunshine beating down here in downtown Atlanta as the Roughnecks and the Hustle meet for the first time in 2017. The Dallas Roughnecks trying to improve to 22-0 all-time. Taylor Pope, when these two teams met last year in Texas in the South Division Championship game, the Hustle really gave the Roughnecks a test like they had never had before. It was tight through 3 quarters. And they'll certainly be trying to make an early statement today against a Dallas team playing on the second day of a back-to-back, and perhaps an early mistake will give the Roughnecks a quick disadvantage.
Atlanta really needs to capitalize on these early mistakes. You know, after a long car ride, you'd expect Dallas to be a little bit tight, maybe, you know, and you're seeing that on that first opening look. Atlanta really needs to get something going here.
Atlanta's D-line trying to work it downfield, shooting it long, looking for Sears, and he did not read it well enough. Dallas's starting offense, Taylor, Brandon Muffin Malachek, he had the turnover, with Chris Mazer, Abe Coffin, Stanley Peterson, Thomas Slack, Kai Marshall, and Ben Laurie.
And you see with that first throw, there is a little bit of wind. Atlanta's going upwind with their offense right now. Dallas going downwind with their offense. And, you know, you kind of saw that on that first opening look. It's not too stiff, but there is some wind out there.
Peterson with his first touch on the under. Nearly turfed it, but a nice save by Marshall. Kai Marshall led this team in goals last year with 47 of them. Dallas went undefeated 14-0 in the regular season, had 8 of those 14 wins by double digits last year. And Mazer sizzles it into the end zone for the score. That's the Roughnecks newcomer Abe Coffin, the former Madison Radical, who has the first score of the day for Dallas.
And I'm sure Atlanta a little disappointed. You know, you get that early turnover. What a great opportunity to get some momentum. Just to throw it away on that deep look. Give the ball right back.
Chris Mazer has assumed bigger responsibilities in 2017 for Dallas. He was a part-time player, moved to Texas late in the season a year ago. This year, Mazer has become a captain of the Roughnecks, along with Jimmy Mickle and Matt Jackson. And Mazer might be the only member of that trio who's playing today. Matt Jackson is here, but as you may remember, he broke his arm a few weeks back. He actually played a little bit yesterday just to give the Roughnecks some extra legs in the late stages of the blowout. He played 5 points. Somehow with his left hand, he managed a goal and a D. Damn, Emmons laying out, nearly came up with a D. Austin Taylor connects with Matt Smith. Smith, the perennial goal-scoring machine for Atlanta, and Dylan Tennell picks up the assist. Alan Laviolette toes it near the sideline. We're even at 1.
And talking to a few of the Atlanta Hustle players before the game, they mentioned coming out with a strategy to really try to grind down the short-handed Dallas squad. You see them playing very fast there. You know, we're going to look to see Atlanta playing lots of man early in the game, hoping to wear them down for the third and fourth quarter. If you're Dallas, you'd love to see some zone. Now, it is a little bit windy, so it might be pertinent for Atlanta to play some zone, but I think their strategy is really one to use their numbers, use their legs to see if they can't grind those guys down.
So far this season, Taylor, in just 2 games played, Dylan Tennell had 10 goals and 13 assists. Just picked up assist number 14. He had 74 of those dimes 2016. Mazer, running out of time, gets it to Malachek.
And you see Atlanta playing a loose shell right now, really leaving a deep and
looking at Peterson, and it's knocked away. Josh Turner, they call him Thor. And he looked like a superhero on that play. So back-to-back offensive points. The Hustle have gotten a turnover.
He looks like he belongs with an axe or something in his hands.
Yes, he does. He looks like a comic strip character is what he does. He-Man, perhaps. And that's great D underneath. Kai Marshall coming up with a catch block. Into traffic, Slack lefties it to the end zone. How about that creativity? Coffin with his second score, but it's Thomas Slack's assist, along with Kai Marshall's D, the story of the point.
That's the second underneath challenge that we've seen of Dallas early in this game. Really shows they came warmed up, ready to play. That's a commitment. That's a team commitment to fronting when you're when you're getting those underneath contested plays.
Now, just to make it clear, Thomas Slack is a right-handed player, but that lefty throw came in handy. Young man out of Texas A&M who was initially cut from the Roughnecks a year ago, and yet he still ended up playing 15 games over the course of the season because they signed him off the practice squad very early on, and he turned out to be one of the unsung heroes for their championship team. Last point on offense, Atlanta sliced and diced, worked it down the field in 24 seconds.
This time they're coming out with a little bit more of a spread look.
Matt Smith overshoots Max Leonard.
This is Dallas's first opportunity for a break.
Mazer picks up.
So with the wind, you'd be looking for Atlanta to front, especially in this short field.
Roughnecks looking for the game's first break. It won't be on that throw.
That was a bailout, high count.
And the Roughnecks.
Atlanta right away.
That will work just shy of the end zone. It's Vickroy. Needs a reset to Smith. Vickroy with a score. Despite the miscue, Smith with a turnover and also the assist on the point.
And while very early in this game, that is going to be Atlanta's strategy, even if they have turns, to make sure you complete your offensive possessions. Keep the game close. Hope that going into the third and fourth quarter that the game is tight and you're able to grind them at the end.
Dallas's turnover on the high stall count, a long throw tossed by Patrick Eberle, who's the coach of this Roughnecks team. Played very sparingly a year ago, but on a weekend when the Roughnecks are missing some key players, Eberle, who has a pretty extensive playing background himself, played Worlds in Australia and Prague. He was highly touted in the Texas area. So's Kai Marshall. That was really easy. And the University of Oklahoma alum hauls it in for the score, 3-2 Roughnecks. Only 5 seconds came off the clock after Mazer picked up the disc. Well, we know Chris Mazer can make that throw. I mean, we knew that coming into today, and certainly Atlanta knows it now.
You see both teams taking their shots downwind. Both teams really working that backhand side of the field, righty backhand.
How would you characterize the wind we've got today?
Well, it's definitely an upwind, downwind. Atlanta is attacking downwind right now. Maybe a little bit right to left.
Running out of time, and on the reset, Jay Frood comes up with a D. Another new member of the Roughnecks, played in Madison the past couple seasons. Looking up the line for Bennett. Bennett bids and comes up shy.
Yeah, certainly not a win that's going to be stifling to any of the major throwers, but should you get a little bit lazy on any of your upwind throws, they're definitely going to eat the dirt.
Atlanta swings it to Smith with Frood on the mark. This is Max Leonard out of the University of Georgia. And here's the former D3 college national champion, Nathan Vickroy. Throws that one deep, and Tennell lost his man.
And that's what we're talking about with, you know, that mental game of Tennell.
Great job with Leonard's body, preventing Emmons from getting there. Resets to Tennell. The swing was flubbed by Vickroy. It was a low throw, but that's a catch he has to make. So the Hustle sitting at 1-2 on the season, coming off a 2-score loss last week to Jacksonville. A game, Taylor, that they feel they really let get away from them. Cannons did not force a ton of Ds, and yet Atlanta did not execute down the stretch. The Roughnecks take the timeout. They're going to get the offense onto the field. We'll stay right here. Break chances so far have been the story. Neither team has capitalized on them, even though both teams had multiple opportunities for the first quarter break.
And you're seeing Atlanta play a little bit tight, you know, to be expected when you're playing a team that, you know, you really feel like you're going to have to play your best game against to be successful. So having some sort of nervy plays to start this game off, when really they need to be capitalizing and really going for the throat of Dallas. If they can pull away a little bit in this first half, they're really going to set themselves up for a successful game.
Good look at Dan Emmons, who didn't play much yesterday in Nashville. He tweaked a hamstring injury that he suffered last week. Said he was going to warm up today, give it a go. He said, to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish the game today, but I'm going to start it and see what I can do. He led this team in blocks a year ago with 32 of them. Former basketball player at the University of North Texas.
He's a big boy and really does a good job of using his body and high pointing the ball.
Malachek will initiate play, marked by Sears. Brandon Malachek has been playing Ultimate for a long time. He was on an AUDL roster 5 years ago in 2012 when this little adventure began. Malachek through the hands of Coffin.
Sloppy play from both teams right now. Just, you know, uncharacteristic drops. Let's see whichever team can really, you know, build on that confidence is going to be the one that gets the lead here.
Has been a very fidgety start. JP Burns, back to Christian Olsen. This is Turner, Olsen. And Marshall's gonna get credit for that D. Pretty sure Marshall got a piece of that Olsen release. Roughnecks have been a high-scoring team. Scored 30 goals in a win at Austin last week. They had 33 a few weeks before that.
Another drop.
Paul Lally, former member of the NightWatch in his first season in Atlanta, wearing number 1, looking Lally's way. The throw too far wide. When you were a captain in your playing days, Taylor, and the team was just playing uncharacteristically sloppy, and you called a timeout to bring him in, what would your primary message be?
Well, the first thing I would have him do is just take a deep breath and realize that, you know, while this is a performance, we really have to, you know, think about it with a practice mindset. You know, it's really easy to play good Ultimate when you're practicing, and as long as you're thinking about growth and getting better, you know, the pressure will fall right off your shoulders.
Lally to Burns, and it's the Atlanta D-line earning the hold. Remember, Dallas called a timeout. It was a while ago. That point took 3 minutes and 45 seconds off the clock. Results eventually in the Atlanta score to tie it up 3-all.
The Atlanta hustle and the Atlanta community have a saying called body blows. And what that means is the more times that they can work the disc down the field, even if they turn it, and as long as they get it back and are able to keep working it, they talk about that as, you know, a boxer striking the body, just trying to wear down their opponent. And, you know, I think the pace of this game so far certainly favors Atlanta in this early going.
And you hope those body blows are even more forceful when the opponent is playing on the second day of a back-to-back. Chris Mazer slicing through the defense.
And here you're seeing Atlanta go with more of a zone look.
Didn't work.
In talking to Matt Smith before the game, he said, you know, we're going to really try to stay away from trying to outsmart Dallas. They're a great team, and, you know, our biggest advantage is going to be to use our numbers and our athleticism to really grind them down. And it's interesting, after such a long O point, to see them come out with a zone look. I would have expected them to come man in that opportunity.
Get a good look at Atlanta assistant coach Miranda Roth-Knowles. She's had a busy day. Her Paideia girls ultimate team won a state championship on this field earlier this afternoon against Brookwood High School. Paideia fell behind the first point of the game and then rolled to a 13-4 rout over Brookwood. Congratulations to Miranda Roth and her Paideia team. Yesterday, Taylor, we weren't here to see it, but we heard that the Paideia boys were upset by Grady High School, coached by Max Leonard and Justin Mattingly, members of the Atlanta Hustle. Gotta say, it was cool to watch the Paideia girls today. And it's such a legendary program in Ultimate, perhaps the most legendary high school team with so many great players. Look at the USA World Games team right now with 3 Paideia alums on the roster among the 10 men. More quick work from the Atlanta offense this point. Max Leonard, who got the win as the coach of Grady High School last night, has the score to tie us at 4. 3:24 to go in the first. Just a little give and go. Leonard and Laviolette.
That was a beautiful shot by Laviolette. Really just picking that little space and letting his receiver run into it. You see the throwers adjusting to the wind a little bit. You know, you'd have liked to see that happen during warm-ups, but sometimes it's hard to replicate game speed until you're out there.
Kyle Stapleton will take the pull. Atlanta's counting on Kyle Stapleton for some big things, especially the rest of the season. With Dylan Tennell's presence on the Atlanta roster, it's not going to be as frequent. He's getting ready to move up to Massachusetts with his family. He'll be around a little bit. He'll make some trips, but he is not going to be a true regular like he's been this year and last year after today. So that's something Atlanta will certainly have to adjust to, and they're counting on guys like Laviolette, Stapleton, Leonard, Evan Boking to help pick up the slack.
Yeah, Dylan mentioned to me before the game that this was going to be his last home game.
For sure.
Really bittersweet. He's been in Atlanta his whole life. Been a member of the Atlanta Ultimate community since he was in high school.
Mazer slices it through to Coffin. That was perhaps the saddest kick spike celebration I've ever seen. Abe Coffin's got 3 goals already. We saw some unbelievable kick spikes from perhaps the king of kick spikes, Pittsburgh, in their 1-goal win over Indianapolis yesterday. The Thunderbirds still undefeated. They'll be at Seattle next week in the second round of our Cross Coast Challenge. Looking forward to that. Abe Coffin off to a good start for the Roughnecks. Coffin was a college teammate of Matt Jackson's at the University of Arkansas. And the reality is, I think Madison was sad to lose him. I think they understood that geographically, his Arkansas home makes it more sense for him to play with Dallas than it does with Madison. And the pressure from Jason Holleran, but just a drop from Austin Taylor on the under.
And the Hustle are getting open on their cuts. They're just not completing these passes. And you're seeing Dallas finally use the width of the field a little bit better. They had been jamming it down the sideline a little too much, and I think, you know, they're adjusting to what Atlanta's trying to do to them defensively.
Smith to the end zone, completes it to Frood, and the Roughnecks, with 2:03 remaining in the first quarter, have the game's first break.
And And this is where those early opportunities by Atlanta really come back to bite you. You know, you can only expect your offense to hold so many points in a row. When you have those opportunities defensively, especially when the team is just giving you the ball on the 50-yard line, you know, you really got to take those opportunities and punch in some of those breaks early in the game, because once the offense gets rolling, it's going to make it tough.
Jay Frood lives in Kansas City, comes up with the score. You know, it's not a clean comparison, but coming into the season, you may have thought, well, Dallas, they're losing Bo Kittredge, they're losing Cassidy Rasmussen. They're not going to be as good. Those are two of the top 10 players in the world. And they add Coffin and Frood, who in a weird way might be an even better fit because of their youthful, athletic, dynamite abilities. Not to say that Bo and Cassidy aren't athletic and talented. We were chatting with Matt Jackson before the game and saying he and Jimmy Mickle were just watching Abe Coffin's throws at their first tryout, and it just made them so happy to watch.
Yeah, he talked about the admiration that they had for the fluidity of his throws.
Smith attempting the greatest, couldn't do it. Another unforced error from Atlanta.
It's always hard to replace a guy like Bo Kittredge. I mean, he really does change the way that you're defended. The other team really has to always game plan for what he's going to be trying to do.
Smith winds it up, looking for Reed Bacon. And Bacon dropped it in the end zone. Ouch. Timeout called by Atlanta. We'll give Bacon some time to think about that error. The Hustle trying to score. There's 50 seconds remaining on the first quarter clock. And we'll be back to Grady Stadium here in Atlanta in just a moment. The Atlanta Hustle on offense. They have to go the full 80 yards of the field. There are officially 52 seconds now on the clock. Our referee crew of Mike Garrix, Jason Weddle, Chris Borling, and Steve Myers adding a couple ticks. And an important score here for Atlanta. If they could punch it in, remember they will receive to start the second quarter. So it's a chance for that end of quarter, start of quarter double score. And they trail by 2 at the moment.
That's an old trick that your New England Patriots like to do, right?
They have perfected. A lot of times when you're watching the coin toss of a Patriots game and you see that one team chooses to receive and you think, okay, the game is over. Oh, that's just tremendous defense, but there was contact called. Chris Larberg laying into the body of Alan LaViolette. They will discuss it, but LaViolette seems to agree with the referee's ruling. So the Hustle will reinitiate play. Clock now less than 30 seconds to go in the quarter. And Dallas not making anything easy. Jay Frood comes up with his 3rd D of the season. Smith unmarked. Gains 10 yards to Peterson. Peterson wraps the throw around to Smith. Nothing Tennell could do, and the Roughnecks with a perfect defensive attack in the final seconds of the quarter.
And you're really just seeing Dallas clamp down on those unders. Atlanta is not getting any depth on their downfield cuts. They're settling for these from the stack, slashes out to the sideline, and that's just allowing the Dallas defenders to clamp down underneath and get those underneath blocks. They're applying a ton of pressure underneath at the moment.
What would the coaching point be here in between quarters for the Atlanta offense? What do they need to do differently?
Well, I'd be telling them you need to put your head down and make it look as though you are going deep for a deep cut, and then put your foot in the ground and come under. You know, obviously looking back to see if that throw is up, but you're not convincing anybody by just cutting in toward the disc, and the Dallas defense is too good for that to be successful.
Ben Laurie did a great job hustling down on the pull to provide pressure. This throw is not going to reach the end zone. It's intercepted by Kai Marshall. And that's how the first quarter concludes. Taylor, it was 4-4 with 3:24 to go when Laviolette hit Leonard, and since then it's been all Dallas. The game's first 2 breaks, and the Roughnecks lead at 7-4 after 1 here in Atlanta.
Early recognition is critical. Teaches middle school PE classes about ultimate Frisbee and cancer symptom awareness.
We're a registered nonprofit that advocates for an active, healthy lifestyle, body awareness, and speaking up if something is wrong.
Skills that when it comes to cancer can help save a life. Ultimate is a fast-paced team sport that's self-refereed, non-contact, and co-ed.
Spirit of the game is the foundation of Ultimate. That means we communicate respectfully, we're fair-minded, and we enjoy the game.
Ultimate is accessible to everyone. All you need is a Frisbee and some friends. Our team of coaches is made up of experienced and passionate leaders from the Ultimate community.
We can come to your middle school and run your PE classes for the day. And if we're not in your area yet, we'll send you our clinic in a box, where we give you the resources to run your own.
We are Eric!
And we want to work with you and your school.
We're back live at Grady Stadium in Atlanta, where the visiting Roughnecks leading the hustle 7-4. 1 down and 3 to go in this South Division battle. It is quite literally the busiest weekend of the season in the AUDL. There are 15 games on the schedule this particular weekend. Every team is in action, and these are the South Division standings. Dallas remains perfect. Raleigh got the win over Austin yesterday, and the Jacksonville Cannons actually just wrapped up another win over Austin. So Jacksonville now 4-1 with 3 straight wins, including road wins here in Atlanta and in Nashville last weekend.
And looking at these standings, you really see how important this game is for the Atlanta Hustle.
Yep.
If they want to maintain pace with Jacksonville, who they just lost to last week, they really need this game. You'd expect them to come out a little bit more fired up in this second quarter, hopefully get a little bit of momentum going into halftime.
They will start with the disc. Dallas getting ready to pull. Matt Bennett had 15 pulls yesterday against Nashville. 14 of the 15 landed in bounds. This one will certainly land in bounds and will roll out. I asked him what happened on the one out-of-bounds pull yesterday, and he said it went through the uprights. He had a wind at his back, and he threw it the full 100 yards and beyond. He thought he should get credit for that. It still counts as an out-of-bounds pull. Atlanta working it down the field. That's a good toss. Josh Bush to Max Leonard. Atlanta scores in 18 seconds.
And those are the kind of points Atlanta needs offensively to keep themselves in this game. And then defensively, they need to force some turns and, really grind down the Dallas handlers.
Well, they've gotten some turns. They just haven't been able to capitalize on them. That's a good throw from Bush. When he released that, my first thought was Jay Frood was about to make a play, but that throw angled in perfectly for Leonard to attack it with position.
If I'm Atlanta here, I like to force some of the Dallas handlers downfield and then force some of their cutters in so that they're, maybe backing some of the cutters and really fronting some of those handlers to get them going downfield away from the disc.
Malachek, Mazer, and Laurie are the handlers. Slack, Marshall, Coffin, Peterson, the cutters downfield.
And here we're seeing Atlanta go with that shell defense again. Looks like they're trying to maybe pin him over on this flick side.
And the D, somehow Laurie keeps it alive inbounds. Looked like the shell defense that you described was going to lead to a turnover, and it still might. Mazer able to get there first, coming back to the disc before Olsen. Laurie. Right back to Mazer. Chris Mazer fired up. 8-5 Dallas. I'm not sure you can zone up these guys.
No, they're just a little bit too patient. They use the field well, and you know, when you're playing zone, even if there's not a lot of wind, I mean there is some wind here, but you know their ability to cross the field with hammers, you know, really forces your deep to gamble and not be able to, you know, contain, shut down as much as you want.
Check out that footwork from Laurie to keep it in bounds.
And here you really need Christian to tell your man Stapleton strike. Give him some indication that your man is beating you up the line so that he can help out with the mark.
Another good pull into the wind. Leonard centers to Tennell, who had the first assist of the game for the Hustle. Has not had one since. This deep shot just past the reach of Jake Anderson. And the sliding catch. Josh Bush safely into the end zone for the Hustle score.
And Vickroy thought he turfed it after that amazing deep run. And that's a great example of the three cut there. You see Atlanta running a stack play. Vickroy isolates himself out into space. When you have a thrower like Dylan Tennell, you know that if you have steps on your guy going deep, you just keep running. If Dylan Tennell fakes, then you put your foot in the ground and come back under hard. And those are the kind of cuts that get you those big gainers that you need to get your offense going.
Josh Bush and Nathan Vickroy, former college teammates at Georgia College and State, where they led the team in assists and goals respectively on their run to a national title at the D3 level.
And let's see what Atlanta does here defensively. You saw a little bit of a zone look. It looks like they're going with it again. Christian Olsen really needs to contain on this line, and look, he's just giving up that under to Slack.
Peterson back to Slack. Now they got him doubled near the sideline. And the throw was deflected, and Peterson almost kept it alive, but it slipped through his grasp.
Brown can cause a fumble in the AUDL.
A quick windup. Boking shooting long, and a rising catch from Christian Olsen. That's the first break of the day for the Hustle.
And that disc just seemed timeless in the air. You thought Mazer was maybe going to have an opportunity to come up with the D, but it just floated and floated until Christian Olsen was able to get under it.
So just like that, it's a one-score game as Evan Boking, a captain of the Hustle this year, out of the University of Auburn, makes the play.
And here you go. You see Dallas, when they got their break, they were able to get the second break, which gave them that 2-goal or 3-goal advantage going into the second quarter. Let's see if Atlanta can convert their downwind break and tie this game up.
Christian Olsen, a Paideia product, elevating for the catch. Same 7 out there for Dallas. I almost said for Madison because I was thinking of Coffin and thinking of Malachek, who, of course, went to the University of Wisconsin in Madison. Mazer out of Miami.
And you see the mismatch Peterson has right now.
Well, no one's guarding Slack, so he's a pretty good guy to throw to as well. And, well, that was not Atlanta's finest defensive point in franchise history.
And you see them go with the man look after, you know, really challenging with their zone. I think, you know, going into the game, sometimes you might have an idea of what's going to be successful for you, and then you know, that's the reason that you mix up your defenses. You don't get married to just one look. You know, going into the game, I think Atlanta thought they were going to be playing a lot of man, and here we've seen that their zone has actually gotten them a few turns. You know, it's always a balancing act to think about, you know, do we stick with that D or do we mix it up to try to you know, keep the other team off guard.
So Atlanta back on offense. They're going into the wind. This is Taylor. Laser caught by Lolly.
And that's a good swing, good break mark.
Taylor gains the extra yards. It's Bush.
He just looked off the guy right in front of him.
Now he connects with Taylor.
And there's so much space on the other side of the field.
They jammed it through. Taylor to Bush. Even though it worked, you think there was a better way to attack the end zone there. And if you were coaching and this group of 7 came over to the sideline, your message would be?
I just would tell them to attack from the middle. I mean, I think, you know, anytime you're stopped in the corner, you know, that's always going to be a difficult place to score, especially once the defense is settled in. You're throwing a couple passes around in that 10-yard little box in the front corner of the end zone. You know, at that point, you really want to get the disc to the middle so you can attack both sides of the end zone at that point.
Laviolette launches the pull for the hustle. 9.25 minutes remaining in the first half. One other game going on right now in the AUDL, San Francisco trying to complete a perfect Southern California weekend in San Diego. That disc looking Peterson's way, and it's denied. JP Burns got there first. Laviolette unwinds the backhand looking Olsen's way, and Coffin said no. Dueling deep shots, both denied. Slack on the under. And Marshall was going deep. The throw came under. Kelvin Williams picked it off. Olsen had power position, but he had no downfield target.
This is where we're going to see.
And before the throw, not sure if a timeout was called or if it was a travel. I think it was a timeout. Greg Swanson, the third-year coach of the Hustle, sensing that his team has a chance to tie it back up after trailing by 3.
Unfortunate because
such a hard thing.
2 quick passes and they were in the end zone. You know, I was just about to say that this is a great opportunity for Atlanta. You know, you get the turn, you huck it downfield, you get the turn again. You know, this is where you got to show your composure. You don't want to give the disc right back to them. So, you know, use your handlers, use your throws to get yourself in a position to execute your end zone offense.
Clock stopped with 8:14 to go here in the half. This is Dallas's only visit to Atlanta this year. However, Atlanta has 2 trips to Dallas the second half of the season. They'll play at Dallas on May 21st and again at Dallas on June 24th. The Hustle with an underratedly difficult schedule with the 2 trips to Texas. There's Stu Downs, Miranda Roth, a couple assistant coaches for the Hustle. Miranda Roth, one of the greatest ultimate players of all time. You have some memories of watching her do her business back in the day?
Yeah, 2006, 2005, she was unstoppable for us. I remember, you know, watching her play in the women's final of the UPA championships, and she was dominant.
Trying to step through, Olsen drew the contact, and they're discussing it. But the disc is going to belong to Atlanta in the middle of the field.
And there's a reason you get the disc in the middle of the field, because it's the easiest place to score.
See the alignment here, basically a straight stack. Tunnell is the dump.
A lot of teams really choosing to attack the short space.
Matt Smith.
In the front of the end zone. Atlanta no different.
Vic Roy. Back to Smith, and he's in. Good footwork from the native Hawaiian. And Matt Smith has his second goal of the day. Beg your pardon. That's his first goal. It's just, he also had an assist.
And that is the Atlanta break, the downfield break that we needed.
Yeah, after trailing 7-4, the hustle on a 5-2 rally to begin this second quarter. What have they done to make the difference?
And you and I, during the break between the first and the second quarter, were lamenting that, you know, Atlanta really is having some chances in squandering it. They've done a much better job of moving the disc, and, you know, maybe some of the, you know, first quarter nerves are starting to go away for them.
If you're an Atlanta fan, that's what you're hoping for.
You and I, of course, just want a good game.
No question about that. And there's blood in the water if you're a favorite in the AUDL this weekend. After what we saw Friday night with San Jose beating Seattle at the buzzer, 27-26 on a crossfield Chuck Cow flick to Alex Sermani for the game winner with no time to go. That was Friday night. And then on Saturday, you saw the Madison Radicals lose for the first time in the regular season in about 700 days almost. And of course, Toronto knocked off by Montreal yesterday. That's just another gorgeous throw from Chris Mazur.
The degree of difficulty on that flick throw, high release flick, you know, with the wind sort of pushing it from right to left, that's an excellent throw. And you just put it out to space in front of the defender. Defender not really having any sort of shot there. And you see Atlanta coming back with that zone shell, and finally Dallas finding a way to get it on the opposite side of the field, not allowing themselves to get trapped on the sideline. We're able to easily break it.
What stands out to you the most when you watch a guy like Mazur with that arsenal of throws?
Well, it's always the decision making, right?
Right.
So having all the throws can be a blessing and a curse. You know, you don't want to be one of those players that has a super high ceiling but a very low floor. And so when you have that arsenal of throws, you know, it's really your decision making that separates you from being an effective thrower, from being someone who has pretty throws but turns it over a lot.
That's a really interesting point. I think you're spot on. You see a lot of guys who have these superhuman throws, but you look at the box score and they've only thrown it 87% because they had 7 turnovers during the game. Looking for Tunnell up the line, and Tunnell rising just shy of the end zone. He'll scuba cross field for Vic Roy. Who's got it?
Talk about degree of difficulty. Dylan Tunnell pulls out the crossfield scuba from one corner of the end zone all the way to the middle of the field. That is a difficult throw and really shows a lot of trust in your man.
He's been playing Ultimate for a long time. It was his start at the University of Georgia, 02 to 07.
And I think he was a Paideia prodigy as well.
No question about that, from the Paideia pipeline. And yet that scuba, I imagine, has become a more frequent part of his arsenal in recent years. Not to say he didn't have it a decade ago, but wow. 35 yards cross field. I wish we had a close-up of Matt Bennett reacting to that, because Bennett known as much as anyone in Ultimate for his scubers. Tunnell with a little grin on his face. How about the catch from Vic Roy?
Amazing.
Going up to high point it.
Really had to, because the defenders were closing in at that point. Excellent break throw by Malachek.
We're tied at 10. Midway through the second quarter, the hometown hustle have not led yet today.
And you see Mazur working that Oregon-style handler offense there, the give and go. I'm sure he learned, took some notes from old Dylan Freechild on that one.
Another score for Ben Laurie, who's been growing that beard he's got for about 5 months now. He says he's going to have it all the way up through college nationals, and he can't wait to be clean shaven again, but he kind of lost a little bit of a bet with his brother, and he's paying it off by keeping that thick brown beard.
And I'm sure a lot of Ultimate players out there have heard of the odds game. This was a 1 in 20. They both said 19. He said he was a little bit curious about what the beard would look like after 6 months anyway, and that's what you get, folks. Be careful playing the odds game.
For those who aren't familiar with the odds game, how would you explain it in a nutshell?
So you choose an odds, like what are the odds that you'll grow your beard out for 6 months, and you have to give it a number, say 1 in 20, and then if the other guy guesses that number that you have in your head, then you have to do it. It's kind of, you know, it's been explained to me probably a dozen times. I feel like I have a good understanding of it, but
have you ever been victimized by it?
I think for maybe chugging a beverage or two.
Apple juice.
Yes.
That type of thing.
Those odds would be pretty low.
After Atlanta's turn, Dallas trying to pick up another defensive break. Changing direction quickly. Larberg able to haul that one in. Dalton Smith to his former college teammate, Matt Bennett.
This is an important point for Atlanta.
Larberg.
He was out.
He's ruled OB. Out of bounds, according to the near official.
Just got that left foot out of bounds on the catch. Very close. It looked like he may have been able to toe the line there. And Atlanta has to get this point, keep themselves in this game. You just crawled back in. You do not want to give Dallas another lead after you work so hard in this quarter.
You talk about the Dallas Roughnecks and you're awed by their offensive talent. This throw hanging for Smith to chase down. What a chuck. It's a 2-on-1 right here. And Jay Fruit is not going to put in too much effort on the second day of a back-to-back. So Josh Bush secures the hold. Matt Smith with the assist. It's 11-all with 4:05 to go in the half.
And this is the first time in the game that you're seeing a little bit of fatigue out of Dallas. That's a great example of body blows. Atlanta works it all the way down, turns it on the goal line. Dallas works it all the way down, turns it on the goal line. Atlanta hucking for the score. Those are the types of points that Atlanta needs to really wear down this Dallas team.
Well, it's been interesting, Taylor, because through the first 20 minutes of game action, it really has felt like Atlanta has had more quick points than Dallas. The near toe, and that was very close. I'm not sure if the referee got it right, but it'll count as a score for the Hustle. Hustle have had more quick scores than Dallas has. Marshall to Peterson.
Well, a lot of times when you are shorthanded, your coach may tell you that we're going to play a more aggressive style, try to get the D early in the point, and what that can lead to is a big release on downfield cutters. If you are doing a lot of fronting, that means that you're going to be allowing for more of the downfield play.
So you give Dallas a little bit of, I don't know if it's credit, but responsibility for some of Atlanta's quick points for their over-aggressive defense?
Yeah, and the same would be true for, you know, Atlanta really not allowing Dallas to push it deep. You know, when you're playing against a team that has low numbers, you want them throwing tons of passes every point, forcing them to cut out and cut back in and throw 10, 12, 15 passes to get it in the end zone.
Ben Laurie back to Brandon Malachek. A laser beam flick will keep Rising out of play.
Huge opportunity for Atlanta here, and they have an open player deep.
Looking for Kelvin Williams. Couple defenders nearby, and it's Marshall who got a piece of it. Williams could not collect the ricochet. Holy cow. Mazer finds Coffin wide open. Finally, Olsen gets a mark on. 11-all, late second quarter. Dallas and Atlanta here in week 5 of the AUDL as we wrap up the month of April. Slack tries the scoober, and that'll work. Cheeky throw from the young man out of Texas A&M. Peterson has the goal on the Slack scoober.
And you're just seeing a lot of swag out of some of these throws. You know, wind, no problem. I'll put up the scoober over 3 defenders and just know that my guy's going to be there to get it.
There's the D from Marshall, and then watch this. Williams trying to keep his concentration.
Oh,
so close. What a great shot by our crew.
You know, Williams said by many of his teammates to be the most improved player of the Atlanta Hustle. They say he is the fastest guy on their team at this point. Really has been putting in some serious work in the offseason to make himself an effective member of the team.
Another missed opportunity for sure for Atlanta, and a chance to take their first lead.
And this just puts a lot of pressure on the Atlanta offense.
Jake Anderson with some more good closing speed, contesting that catch by Josh Bush. Smith finds Vic Roy. Looks off Leonard, throws over the defense.
You know, that Mac.
That was gorgeous. Lolly, clap catches for the goal to tie it up at 12.
I think the Dallas defender touching that actually helped slow the disc down, or else I think that was going to be much closer to the back of the end zone.
Let's take a look.
And you see
there,
there,
he did get a piece of it.
Could have been one of those situations where had he not impacted it at all, it might have been out the back. That is the downwind side of the end zone.
So if you're Atlanta right now, you were down by 3 at the end of 1. If you're Greg Swanson, you got to be feeling pretty good. You're tied, about 100 seconds to go in the half. Dallas getting ready for its 4th half in the last 24 hours, and you hope that starts to catch up with them, right?
Yeah, and this is really a critical moment.
This toss is ambitious from Mazer. And Peterson with an even more ambitious attempt. How about that greatest try? It is Atlanta's disc. $1:15 to go in the second.
And you can't turn it over on your end zone here.
Peterson bids unsuccessfully.
Now they need to push it. Push it downfield. They got open guys.
Choi completes it. Ryan Archibald. Back to Choi. Stapleton. Hammer looking for Turner.
That is a dime ball.
Got him!
That upwind hammer is a very high degree of difficulty. You basically have to release that disc straight up and down for it to hold its flight that whole time. Excellent throw by Stapleton. He wanted to get it to Thor with the flick. Beautiful.
First lead of the day for the Hustle. Turner from Stapleton.
And that is a critical moment, especially with Dallas receiving to start the second half. You know, getting that break is super important.
Stanley Peterson multiple times that point threw his body around, and yet it's Atlanta celebrating.
How many times has Dallas trailed going into halftime?
Not very many.
If you're Atlanta, you'd love to get a stop. You don't need to score, but maybe even just...
Malachek's throw had too much sauce on it. The Hustle have 30 seconds.
maybe look for Swanson to call a timeout here, get his offense out on the field.
Down to 15 seconds. Bradham finds Olsen. Olsen unwinds.
Oh, let's see.
Looking for Williams. Kelvin Williams did not get there. But despite the incompletion, the time expires with Atlanta in front.
I think they might put a second or two back on the clock here.
If the disc rolled out of bounds, that would be the correct protocol.
They're calling for 2 seconds down on the field.
The Roughnecks, well, they'll take their final timeout here. Atlanta did not have a timeout left, but the Roughnecks do, so they will add 2 seconds to the clock. And Dallas, we've seen them connect in this situation before with guys like Emmons, Marshall, Peterson.
The problem here is you're going 80 yards upwind. It is going to take all of a windup to get the disc down here. If I'm Atlanta, I'm double teaming the thrower, forcing them to make one extra pass in the hopes that they're not able to get that throw off.
Good look at Patrick Eberle, who is 21-0 as head coach of the Dallas Roughnecks. A little bit like Steve Kerr. He deserves a lot of credit. He also arrived in a great situation. Two seconds on the clock. Mazer out there with Bennett, Larberg, Peterson, Emmons, Frood, and Marshall. Mazer to Bennett. He winds it up, and the referee is waving it off. It's not going to get to the end zone anyway. So the Hustle will take a 1-point lead into the locker room. Will this be the day that Dallas finally tastes defeat? Matt Jackson, one of the captains, sidelined with a broken arm injury. 13-12, the defending champions from Dallas, trailing Atlanta here at the half.
All grade levels, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Early cancer detection, you know, we don't talk a lot about that. It's an uncomfortable topic, I think, for a lot of kids, and especially with this age group, they're not aware of their bodies in general. So I think this is an important message to get out because we need to understand our bodies. We need to be that body aware, and we need to talk to kids about it so they understand it's okay. It's okay to tell an adult. It's okay to question what's happening and to find somebody trusted to speak up and speak out and make sure that they're advocating for themselves, not only from a health standpoint, but from a personal standpoint. Through sports, we learn how to treat people and kindness and compassion. So these skills that we teach through Ultimate Frisbee and through organizations like Eric, we can transfer and translate into our daily lives. Cancer awareness and body awareness is so important, and to do it through a game like Ultimate Frisbee that just breeds this sense of speak up, speak out, and have some fun is really an amazing thing. So I'm happy to have it. I hope you guys can come back, and it's been a great day. So thank you very much, Eric.
At the half here at Grady Stadium in Atlanta, the Hustle leading the Roughnecks 13-12. We welcome you back in, everybody. Evan Lepler and Taylor Pope, and it has been a wild weekend of Ultimate in the AUDL, certainly with what happened on Friday and Saturday. And how about this first half today? Dallas, if you joined us late, folks, led 7-4 at the end of one. In the second quarter, Atlanta started to capitalize on the many chances they had in the first.
Yeah, both teams looking a little bit jittery, a little bit nervy in the first quarter. Atlanta especially with a ton of chances to really get a hold of this game to start. I'm a little surprised on that last 30 seconds. Atlanta has the disc on their own goal line, 30 seconds to play. I'm a little surprised there wasn't a timeout call to get the offense on the field.
Well, they're still up by one at the half, and you look at what happened around the league this weekend, and just a dynamic that seems to be growing in this league, a dynamic of parity where anybody can beat anybody, and it started on Friday night. The San Jose Spiders already had a win this year against San Francisco. They beat San Diego at home last week, but watch the final seconds of the Cascades Spiders matchup on Friday night. A quick poach and a timeout call will get the offense onto the field, and then with just seconds remaining, San Jose gets it open. Chuck Cow. He saw Alex Sermani, and the throw hung up there for a while, but the Spiders win it 27-26 at the buzzer. Justin Norden had 8 goals, had 8 assists in that game for the Spiders, and just an unbelievable game. Jackson Stern had 7 goals. This San Jose team seems like they might be for real.
Yeah, I think you know, anytime that you can pull off some of those close wins, especially at the end of the game, that really builds your team confidence. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep this momentum going into the next couple months. Just
so you know, I don't enjoy going here, but here I go. I know you're someone that has had some tough memories against Bay Area teams and kind of begrudgingly respect Bay Area Ultimate, but what is it about the Bay Area that has driven you so crazy through the years? Because right now, San Francisco and San Jose look like together they might be the 2 best teams in the West.
You know, I think they've just always had a very disciplined style of playing Ultimate. Their offense has always been so stingy. You know, you work so hard to get Ds on those teams. And then, you know, obviously we haven't had the success against those teams that, you know, I would like. And so it's just been tough.
Well, that was not the only wild finish in the league this weekend, and not the only championship weekend semifinalist from last year to fall. On Saturday, yesterday, the Madison Radicals went to Minnesota. This is a Madison team that went undefeated last year, and yet you see the scoreboard. This game was Minnesota wind chill all the way, and this throw and catch might have been the play of the day. On a windy day at the National Sports Complex, Ryan Schoenrock in pursuit.
No way.
And to the disbelief of everybody, Strings made the catch. That made it 21-14. Madison inched closer down the stretch, and yet the wind chill with their first win over Madison since 2014, ending the Radicals' long winning streak. How about that grab from Schoenrock?
Unbelievable. You know, he's got to grab it with the left hand, trailing edge, you know, full dead sprint. That is 10 out of 10 degree of difficulty.
The Minnesota wind chill, they are 2-0 now. This Madison team, well, they'll play this Dallas team, of course, in the Cross Coast Challenge on June 3rd. 4 weeks after that, on July 1st, we'll see a rematch between Madison and Minnesota at Breeze-Stevens Field. We're at the half here in Atlanta, 13-12. The defending champions from Dallas trailing Hometown Hustle by 1 at the break.
Yeah, I loved that you guys talk about cancer awareness, and it's more about body awareness and knowing their own bodies.
And I think Eric is a wonderful way to bring this into school. You come with a complete program.
The information is good. It's presented in a very professional way. The instructors do an excellent job.
I think the kids overall had a great time. I can see from their responses that they want us to get some more Ultimate discs in the school, and that we'll be playing all the way into the spring and summer.
We really appreciated you coming out. We love the message you guys send.
Yeah, thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Eric, for coming out to the Pittsburgh area. It's a great experience for our kids.
Thank you for sharing your message with the kids. We really appreciate the energy that you've brought, and I really encourage anybody else who might be interested in this program to bring them on in.
(13-12) Atlanta in front of Dallas at the break. Can't wait to see the Week 5 top 10. That is going to be spectacular. It's going to be tough for the video producers to get to the bottom of the 15-game schedule this weekend. But hey, there were some unbelievable plays in Week 4 as well. Let's check out the top 10 plays in the AUDL from Week 4.
Mott with a big pull, and it's D'd up. Oh, no it isn't. It is caught. It is caught. That was Sean Mott to the aforementioned Nelson Oak with a diving reception in the end zone to steal a point at the end of the half. Started Scotty Hugh, launches it for Marcus Brownlee. Woo! That's a nice catch. Big time play, and what a target.
Looking long, Cisco. He just has a knack for getting open. Not in the end zone yet, though. Double team near the goal line. The near greatest, it'll work out. Back to Cisco for the score. You gotta be kidding me.
Wow, that was incredible. And that was exactly what Raleigh needed right now.
With 43 seconds left in the quarter, Dave Snoke was his last resort. The throw kept floating out of bounds, and Snoke, a clean greatest, back to Cisco as if they drew it up.
So this piece with Eric is amazing to me. It's right in line with what we think is critical for kids, and that is to know their bodies.
The kids have really gotten into having speakers here that aren't just their teachers.
And I think the clinicians did a fantastic job. All the kids were engaged, none of them were distracted. They seemed to get into it right away.
I just want to reach out to Eric and tell him, you know, thank you for coming and sharing the message that our kids can speak up. Early recognition is critical, and I look forward to doing more things with Eric in the future.
It's been great for us as a staff and for our students to experience the message you guys have, and highly recommend it for any school that has the opportunity.
Nice crowd on hand on a sunny, breezy Sunday afternoon in Atlanta, Georgia, in the 80s on the Mercury, and it's the hustle in front of the Roughnecks, 13-12 at the break. Let's quickly do a rundown of the rest of the AUDL, and we'll start in the East Division by looking at the East Division standings. Obviously, the biggest story yesterday was Montreal knocking off Toronto. The Royale had a 20-14 lead in that game. The Rush scored 4 straight in the fourth to get back within 2, but the Royale, behind 4 assists and a goal from Max Rick, Antoine Genet had 4 assists, and the Rush, who had not lost back-to-back games, I don't think, in their history, have now dropped 2 straight to DC a few weeks ago and yesterday to Montreal. The DC Breeze, well, they were 12 minutes away from being undefeated with a 5-point lead against Raleigh last week, but the 10-3 run from the Raleigh Flyers in the Cross Coast Challenge sent DC with its first loss. Meanwhile, the New York Empire, Taylor, they're 2-1. Got a win last week against Montreal, beat Philadelphia yesterday, and for Jeff Babbitt, the superstar out of UMass, he had another fantastic game yesterday with 4 goals and 3 Ds. Through 3 games this year, Taylor, Babbitt has 12 goals and 11 Ds. You know what that pace is through 14 games? If he plays every game at that pace, he would finish with 56 goals and 51 Ds.
There's only been a handful of 50-50 players in the league.
Well, there's never been a 50-50 goals and Ds. There's been some 50-50 goals and assists. There has never been a 40-40 goals and Ds. And Goose Helton came the closest, but I think Babbitt, we were talking before the season whether he could go 40-40. He's on pace for 50-50 right now. When we get a chance, we'll transition into the Midwest Division. Yesterday in the Midwest, of course, Minnesota taking down Madison. You also had the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds behind 9 goals from Tyler DiGirolamo and 8 assists from his college teammate Max Thorne. Jonathan Mast had 52 completions with no throwaways and 6 assists as well. And the Thunderbirds beat Indy 26-25, sending the AlleyCats to a frustrating 1-3 because they were so close. Michael Ames had an upline throw that would have tied it with about 20 seconds to go, slipped through his hands, and that's all it takes sometimes, the margin between victory and defeat.
You know, I think that what you're seeing is just a lot of parity in the league right now. And, you know, you see that in other sports where teams play each other on a regular basis. Of course, in the NFL, those divisional games become much more difficult. And you're seeing that these teams are starting to learn each other's tendencies, and we're having much closer battles, way more competitive games, and it's a testament to the parity in the league.
In the West Division, San Francisco and San Jose, the Bay Area teams near the top. The FlameThrowers beat the Aviators yesterday to hand Los Angeles their first loss of the year. And if you're not familiar with the name Antoine Davis, out of Virginia Tech, played for the DC Breeze briefly a few years back. But yesterday he had just an unbelievable game. 6 goals, 3 assists, and 3 Ds. Doing it all while mostly playing on the O-line for the FlameThrowers in their 4-score win. Cassidy Rasmussen, the former Roughneck, had 9 assists. Eli Kearns, in his return to the FlameThrowers, had a couple goals with a half-dozen dimes. We're set for the start of the second half. Atlanta pulling to Dallas with a 1-score lead.
And Stapleton with the pull just past half field.
Atlanta won the second quarter 9-5 after losing the first quarter 7-4.
And an easy turn.
What do you think the Hustle's conversation was like at the half?
Stay loose, keep grinding. I think, you know, you got to lead on a team that hasn't ever lost a game. You know, you got to maintain your composure and just keep with the game plan. Their game plan has been to wear down the Dallas Roughnecks, and they just got to keep at it.
Coffin eats up a lot of yards on the under. Looked off Malachek, who had Boking guarding him.
And Malachek, with that beautiful big space out in front of him, maybe showing a little bit of signs of fatigue. Thrower faked him back, and he didn't come back under.
Coffin looking Laurie's way, and Ben Laurie lays out for the score. Dallas ties it up on a big bid from Ben Laurie.
And just looking at the body language of Dallas, they look tired.
Well, it's understandable. It's really hot out there today.
As hot as it is in this booth, I think it's 10 to 15 degrees hotter on that turf at least.
Poor guys, as it's steamy up here in the booth. Ben Laurie out of Lewis and Clark College. Grew up in Golden, Colorado, and has really grown into a superstar. I mean, he had 22 goals, 15 assists, 7 Ds last year. Played 11 games for the Roughnecks. Just seems to be such a key cog for this Dallas offense.
Important first possession for the Atlanta hustle offense.
Tennell to Lally to Smith.
Atlanta's got to be careful. They've been getting themselves stuck on the sideline. They really need to swing the disc and switch the field. Most of Dallas's Ds have come from them trying to jam it down the sideline. You see, they've worked it all the way across.
Vic Roy, certainly some contact on the mark by Smith, no call. Smith leaves Vic Roy for the double, and the throw finds Vic Roy back to the sideline for Tennell.
Dylan looking for contact. He got it.
Dylan Tennell was a high school champion in 2000, 2001. National champion at the club level in 2009. He won gold medals with the USA World Games team, both in 2009 and 2013. Truly one of the faces of the sport for the past generation. Josh Bush trying to get it to that face, and he just beats the buzzer of the stall count. Tennell knifing to the end zone, and it will not have enough float. Intended for Leonard.
Dallas really applying some exceptional defensive pressure. You know, they allowed Atlanta to work it down into their side of the field, but then they really locked down on the underneath and forced a bad throw.
So rare turnover from Tennell. You know, the Atlanta primary handlers through the first 3 games of the season have been completing their passes at about a 97% clip. Frood floats one.
That is too far.
Emmons turns on the Jets, and he got it! Dan Emmons, are you kidding me?
How's your hamstring now? Unbelievable rundown. That disc looked like it was destined for the dirt, and Dan Emmons pulls it. Beautiful.
Thankfully, he doesn't have a Taylor Pope-like attitude and didn't give up on it too quick.
Oh, come on.
That is our Friction Gloves catch of the game. Emmons fired up. Remember when Bo Kittredge used to say, "You can't overthrow me"? I think Emmons might have a similar mindset. What a catch. Woo. He had it all the way. Dallas is getting ready to pull from about 10 yards in front of their end zone, so I believe there might have been a call in the aftermath of the goal or on the throw. A delay of game actually was the call against Atlanta.
Atlanta's got to be careful here. Now they're going back upwind. They just gave up the lead. Now they're down by 1. Offense back out on the field.
Dallas's ability to look fatigued and then all of a sudden extends such intense defensive pressure. I'm not sure anyone in the league can do it quite like that. Taylor shooting it for Olsen. That disc has too much float, but Olsen rises up to get there before Holleran could interfere.
There you see the wind just hanging the last couple throws up. It'll be interesting to see what kind of defensive look Atlanta gives Dallas here.
Olsen with the emphatic spike.
They haven't really been able to apply any defensive pressure man-to-man on Stanley Peterson, really giving him open reign on the field. Dallas going with the spread look.
Dalton Smith along with Mazer and Malachek in the handler set. Slack, Marshall, Coffin, and Peterson downfield. Dalton Smith runs it down.
It's a nice backside grab.
They call it contact on the mark from Sean Sears. Up the line to Mazer.
A little bit of energy from Dallas. Mazer trying to get his defense pumped up to get a break, extend this lead a little bit.
Dalton Smith, his head up the whole time, surveying the field as he marched it to the pivot point. And Mazer just beat Choi up the line, nice and easy.
And we're getting to the point in the game where these teams are really going to show their true colors.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, when a good team can keep it close, and then towards the end of the game, put their foot down and just run away with it. And Atlanta has fought tooth and nail just to maintain a 1 to 2 point differential in this game. We're gonna see whether or not they're able to stay in it, or if they, let their foot off the gas a little bit and allow Dallas to get some separation.
Stall count rising, and just a launch. Matt Smith in pursuit, and he makes the left-handed grab. Saving the possession for the hustle. Taylor unmarked. Wants to get it to a handler and finds Vickroy. Tennell right now down the middle of the field in the stack. And Smith with the unforced error. He makes the incredible impossible grab with the left hand, and then the easy under. He suffers the miscue. So Dallas again looking to build on its 1-score lead.
And Dallas has done a good job of fronting once it gets into their end zone. So really the only thing open is the over-the-top look, which when you're the Atlanta Hustle, you've just worked it all the way down the field. You may not want to take that lower percentage throw, but that's really the only thing they're giving you.
Got an integrity rule situation here. Alan Laviolette was initially, they initially called an offensive foul on Dalton Smith, and Laviolette said no, it was on me, not on Dalton, so they changed the call. Marked 10 yards the other way. Spirit from Laviolette and Atlanta. Bennett breaks the mark with a rising flick.
There were 2 Dallas Roughnecks open on that one. He got away with the travel there.
Yes, he did. Wouldn't be a turnover. The new AUDL rule has it just a 10-yard penalty. But that will be a goal. Chris Larberg in the end zone, wide open. And the Roughnecks with a break to extend the lead back to 2. Midway through the third here in Atlanta. Well, you saw Smith make the great catch, but the Hustle's cutting superstar with an error on this Vic Roy under.
And you wonder, Vic Roy there, he throws the backhand on the flick side, and, you know, really that's going to produce a different spin for Matt Smith. Now, he should definitely be able to catch that, but a flick really makes it an easier grab because it's bending into the receiver. Kind of like you're seeing here with the Dallas throw. Now, he wasn't as contested as Matt Smith was, but you see a lot of players resorting to that backhand when really they should be throwing flicks.
I think it's a good point. Certainly, I'm sure Smith feels he should have made the catch, but I think you're right. The flick there might have made it an easier catch for Vic Roy.
I've always been a fan of bending the throw into the receiver whenever possible.
Coaching, Dave Coffin comes up with a D. This is danger time for Atlanta. Roughnecks led by as many as 3 back in the first half. The Hustle were up 1 at the break. This third quarter has belonged to Dallas thus far. Underneath.
And Atlanta just applying 0 pressure to these Dallas cutters. They need to start fronting at this point if they want to have any chance of getting a D.
Patrick Eberle usually calls timeouts from the sideline. This time on the field, he got the disc on a reset and said, let's get the offense on the field. And that's exactly what will happen as a result of this turnover.
And you asked me what I meant by these teams showing their true colors. This is the exact representation of what I mean. You know, the game's been close, sort of back and forth, but Dallas certainly has the belief that they're the better team. They see the end in sight. Halfway through the third quarter, they're going to start putting their foot down, and if Atlanta has any chance of staying in this game, they have to get a D right now.
Before today, Patrick Eberle had played 19 D points in the Roughnecks' first 4 games. He saw the field in 2 of them. But he never touched the disc in any of those games except on the pull. Of course, play, never had an assist or a completion, just didn't touch the disc. That's been a different story today. He's been much more active in this weekend as well. In the game against Nashville, he had an assist and a couple Ds.
Well, they need him. They don't have a lot of guys, and these AUDL games are very tough, even with a full 20-man roster.
That's true.
You're basically playing every other point when you're out there for 2.5 to 3 hours.
Eberle and his counterpart for Atlanta, Swanson, have had somewhat similar careers in terms they've largely been derailed by injury. Eberle had 2 ACLs and 3 other surgeries. Dallas will keep it.
You see the D being played on Mazer right now after getting beaten up the line twice.
Laurie over the top.
Put on the line.
And 1 extra throw allows Coffin to secure the assist. Mazer the score. Dallas the break.
And you see all of the Atlanta defenders there stop, look at the sideline judge to see if that was in, instead of just continuing to play defense, relying for that last easy throw.
Too easy. You made a really interesting point about 45 minutes before the game, Taylor, when we're walking on the field, chatting with certain players, and you talk about just the overall body language of the 2 teams. In Atlanta, businesslike. There was a focus about them. Dallas was relaxed, and I think you described it well when you said this team just has so much swagger. And that's kind of the way they've played throughout the game, with intensity, but also with a level of confidence.
And it's really that play like you practice mindset. You know, always having a growth mindset, knowing that, you know, when you need it, you're going to be able to channel it, and that only comes from being there and being successful. Hard to get that when you haven't been in those situations.
Bush winding up, looking for Smith. Matt Smith in the end zone for the hustle. We've seen him do this before.
You can tell this Dallas team just has incredible belief in their teammates. This really is an important point in the game. This is when your game plan starts to come to fruition. If you're Atlanta, it's later in the game. Dallas, you've kept the game close. You're hoping that you've sort of worn them down a little bit, the end of a 2-game stretch.
How about that catch from Smith?
Unbelievable. He really ran that down. It was, you know, he basically has to make that. And that's one of those where you're definitely bidding and just praying that you come up with it, because you do not want to be playing defense after that.
Back to a 2-score game. Dallas on offense.
And Atlanta needs to be fronting here. They need to push Dallas downfield.
Mazer keeps it alive with a sliding grab.
Beautiful break mark, right under the knee, under the hand.
Coffin winds up, looking for Marshall. Williams nearby, but Marshall makes the catch.
Looked like Williams was gonna have an angle at that disc, and Marshall just reels it in like he's not even there.
Another assist for Abe Coffin.
And that really was started by Chris Mazer's break mark backhand to Coffin. When you have a guy that can start the disc in the center of the field and just break the mark at will, it really opens up your offense.
Do you think Ultimate should have a rule for a play like that? Because it looked to me like that was the equivalent of an NBA and one. Marshall caught it and he got drilled from behind. It wasn't a malicious bid by any means. There was certainly contact. Should there be an additional 10-yard penalty or something else for a play like that?
That's an interesting question. Honestly, not one I've given a lot of thought to. I think when I've been in those situations, I'm just happy to have made the grab. But that is something that's worth actually discussing.
Dick Roy uncorks a huge backhand. Bush, his college teammate, able to haul it in. And then a quick give and go with Tennell.
And it seems like if you're Dallas, like why are they giving them the deep shots? Well, Dallas is trying to keep the pace of this game fast, and by allowing Atlanta to take those higher risk deep shots, you know, hoping that you can challenge it once the disc goes up, you know, that's going to make for shorter, less grinding defensive points.
Pretty good throw from Pickroy into the wind.
Excellent. You know, I'm impressed with Dallas's overall game plan strategy with the low numbers. They definitely committed to fronting on the early in the point and allowing those deep throws to go up, and they really haven't had to play too many points where they have just had to grind all the way down the field guarding the Atlanta hustle. They've either gotten the D or gotten scored on relatively quickly.
Easy yards so far at this point. Laurie resets to Mazer with Choi on the mark. Coffin underneath. Looking for Peterson. Peterson's going to have to turn on the Jets. Stanley Peterson cannot make the play.
And Williams having a tough time seeing that throw go up. He's watching the receiver, and since he's not seeing the throw go up, he can't locate and close on that disc. He's really lucky that Stanley Peterson didn't come up with that, because he did get a hand on it. You know, that touches on a point that's so critical for downfield defense. I'm of a firm belief that you need to see the throw leave the thrower's hand so you can tell if it's a flick or a backhand, and thus get your early read so that you can have a chance.
Atlanta looking for its first break opportunity of the second half.
And that's the kind of swing that Atlanta needs.
Lally lets it fly. Hanging up in the air for Burns, and it's Slack who knocks it away right near the sideline for Dallas.
Tough throw, that was trailing out of bounds.
Now Dallas trying to go the full 80 yards again. Slack has become such a workhorse for this team.
Somebody's open. They got two people playing deep.
Malachek launches. No one was going deep though. Laurie turns it on late but can't get there. And a whistle on the throw, I think, is going to bail Dallas out. Malachek and Archibald conversing.
I'd like to see that again, just to see if.
Called contact on Archibald on the mark. Dallas keeps it. Marshall. Mazer. Archibald playing some good dump defense, prevented the reset to Malachek. Coffin was wide open.
Gotta hold him here. Can't allow that dump.
The Roughnecks textbook swing and into the end zone for Peterson.
Those are the moments. Those are the moments that Atlanta's going to look back on after this game and say, if only we had come down with a few of those. Certainly contingent on the outcome.
Certainly nothing fancy about this, Taylor. Just a simple textbook dump swing to the front pylon score.
But those are opportunities for Atlanta on defense.
The D from Slack. Dallas just continues to work it around. Malachek with the assist.
A lot of defensive squads, a lot of defensive, offensive teams, meaning that, you know, when the defense is playing offense, they fall into this trap of, you know, you work so hard to get the turn, and yet you don't necessarily value it as much as you should when you actually have the disc.
So now looking for Vic Roy. It'll hang up beautifully. Emmons may have tweaked the hamstring defending, and Atlanta punches it in, but Emmons down in what appears to be a lot of pain on the field for the Roughnecks.
And then there were 14. I hope it.
You could see it catch. Emmons was saying before the game he played about 5 points yesterday, and at some point tried to turn it on and said, "Oh, yep, I feel it. He knew at that point he was done." And today he kind of said the same thing. I'm going to play it, give it a try, and caught him right there.
Yeah, and you know, I asked him before the game. I said, you know, did you hear a pop? And he said he didn't think that. He hadn't heard a pop, and so he knew it wasn't, you know, a tear. You know, every strain is some degree of a tear, but he didn't think it was very serious. And you know, as a player, you start to gain a little bit of confidence when you're able to chase down and make the grab that you did in the end zone, and then, you know, you can kind of continue that on, and sometimes the hamstring's just going to say enough is enough. I've suffered from a very bad hamstring tear right when I turned 30, and there is nothing like it to really take away your speed.
(19-17), Dallas leads Atlanta. 26 seconds remaining in this third quarter. Now the hustle will get the disc to start the fourth. Might be a lot to ask for a stuff and score here in 26 seconds, but if you can keep Dallas out of the end zone in these final seconds of the quarter, that would be a huge momentum boost. Laurie already near midfield. Across the 50 to Marshall. 10 seconds in the half and a giveaway.
They need to burn a timeout here.
Mattingly with 4 throws it into the ground, and Peterson got it off. This will count.
Box him. Brett, box him.
It was deflected and will fall incomplete. I think Justin Mattingly got a piece of it.
Atlanta got very fortunate there. You know, when you have that many guys collapsing, they're going to give them.
Peterson looked like he was fouled on the release. So they're going to give the disc back to Stanley, and he's going to basically have a shot from midfield. He's going to try to hammer it to the end zone, and that's not going to work. And Turner pounds it down. So the Hustle do get the stop. And it's a 2-score game as we head to the 4th at Grady Stadium. The Dallas Roughnecks, 14-0 in the regular season last year. 17-0 if you include the postseason. They're 21-0 all time. And they're 12 minutes away from their 22nd consecutive win.
Blake Huck looking for Stanley Peterson in the end zone. It's Stanley with the layout grab.
Air Force One.
19-17, Dallas leads Atlanta as we take the turn for home. Into the 4th quarter we go. Quick update from around the league. 14 other games going on this weekend. On Friday night, San Jose beat Seattle 27-26. The Spiders followed it up with a 28-22 win over Vancouver yesterday, and the Spiders have won 4 in a row. Raleigh took down Austin 28-23. The Flyers are 5-1, have beaten Austin twice. Matt Bennett's brother Mitch led the Soul with 4 goals in the losing effort. Jeff Babbitt had another big day for the New York Empire in an 18-13 win over Philadelphia. The Ottawa Outlaws kicked off their season with a 29-24 loss in DC. Tyler Monroe had 7 goals, 5 assists for the Breeze. The Outlaws lost yesterday, but got a win today at Philadelphia for their first win of the year. The Detroit Mechanix beat Chicago 24-14. Jake Steslicki had 5 goals. Austin Engel had 4 assists. And Johnny Bansfield, a talented name in Ultimate, he had 4 goals and 3 assists for the Mechanix. We showed you some of the highlights of Minnesota's 22-20 win over Madison. How about these numbers, Taylor? Josh Klain had 74 completions in 77 attempts. 74 completions, just 3 throwaways. 4 of those were assists. Jay Drescher, a team high +7 for the wind chill. They're a perfect 2-0. Pittsburgh's also 2-0 with a 26-25 win over Indy. Tyler DiGirolamo had 9 goals, 2 assists. San Francisco beat LA yesterday 26-22. Montreal over Toronto 22-19. And earlier today, Jacksonville a winner over Austin. We mentioned Ottawa's win in Philadelphia. San Francisco and San Diego in the second half currently in Southern California. 4th quarter here in Atlanta. And a deep shot off the bat looking for Tennell. And Dylan Tennell has the goal for Atlanta. Hustle back within 1 on the back of their MVP.
Beautiful deep shot, and you see Dylan Tennell really doing a good job of using his body to keep the defender from getting around him, making that grab look easy.
So it's a 1-score game. Tennell beating Dalton Smith deep. Stapleton set to pull. Atlanta's going to need 2 breaks to win this thing in regulation. At least 1 more break to get it back even. And the layout D on the first throw to get the disc back, Robert Bradham.
And that's the kind of play you need. If you're Atlanta, they need to punch this in.
Bradham giving everything he has.
How many dumps is Swanson gonna let these guys throw before he puts the offense out there?
Evan Boking wraps the backhand around, and it's juggled and caught by Stapleton, just shy of the end zone. Cross field, Bradham has the bookends. We are tied here in Atlanta. 19 all on the point that belonged to Robert Bradham.
And there's been a pattern emerging in this game. There's certainly been 2 to 3 situations where I would have expected Coach Greg Swanson to call a timeout, get the offense out there, and he's really showing a lot of faith in his defensive squad to punch these very important points in.
Feels like he's got more faith in him than you do.
He does.
That's reasonable.
I'd rather have put the disc in Dylan Tennell's hand than floating it up into the front corner there.
Check this out. That is effort. You dream about that as a defender running down, don't you?
Yeah, just having that opportunity. You know, you're banking on that disc leaving his hands because, you know, any fake there, you're running 5 yards past the offensive guy, really out of position, and then you're chasing the rest of the point.
Yeah, it's a risk, but every once in a while it pays off.
So much glory.
Another junky defensive look here from Atlanta. Low throw dug out by Laurie. Cross midfield for Slack and ahead to Coffin.
I have a feeling we'll get to see that bid a couple more times.
And Coffin connects with Malachek, and it will be a goal, a result of Turner's foul in the end zone. So Dallas quickly reasserts itself back up 1 at 20-19.
So Atlanta able to grab just a little bit of momentum. Their defense getting a crucial break back. And now the Atlanta Hustle, an opportunity to hold, going upwind, giving their D another shot. Let's see if they can do it.
This Dallas Roughnecks team without Jimmy Mickle and Dylan Friedchild. They're both members of the Team USA World Games squad that's practicing as a unit down in Medellin, Colombia this weekend at the TEP tournament. Kurt Gibson, a member of the Roughnecks, but he's injured. They say they expect to get him back by the end of the season, but probably not in time for their game against Madison on June 3rd.
That Colombia tournament, such an incredible experience. Had the opportunity to go down there my last year playing on ring. Wonderful, wonderful experience. The Colombians are awesome hosts. You know, that city is so gorgeous, and you know, we felt so safe, and the food was amazing. I'd go back there in a second.
And I was talking about that on the AUDL podcast. You can listen to that on iTunes if you'd like every Friday as Atlanta shoots it long for Smith.
Jump it in.
And he dropped it in the end zone. You are kidding me.
And you could see he was trying to milk that extra little step to make sure he caught it in the end zone. It's a balancing act whether or not you do that or you just make the grab.
Shades of what happened with Indy and Michael Ames yesterday, but Boking comes with a poach D to knock it down. Tennell surveys, hits Taylor. Back to Tennell. And he pizza pied it over the double team there, it appeared. Yeah. And then into the end zone, Smith makes amends, and we're tied at 20 again.
Yeah, and that's why you give the disc to Dylan Tennell when he's in the corner there. That's why you put the offense back out on the field in that situation. As hard as it is as a defensive player to say, you know, sometimes you gotta do that.
I wish we had DC's Rowan McDonald on speed dial, because he has perfected the pizza pie in his many YouTube videos. But check out this throw from Tennell. More of a push pass than a true pie. A but still a nice crafty toss before he picks up the assist to Smith.
Another guy, Ring of Fire great, Josh Berkowitz.
Sure.
Loves to throw that throw, and you just feel like you're going to block it every time, and you never do.
20 all, 9.5 to play. Roughnecks trying to stay perfect. Atlanta trying to stay within striking distance of a playoff berth, even this early in the season. Laurie in pursuit, and that throw was gorgeous.
Wow. That throw just looked like it hit a wall approaching the back of the end zone. At first, you know, it looked like it might go out, but it just slowed right down at the back of the end zone and allowed Laurie to catch up and catch it.
And Kai Marshall has been known more for his downfield cutting than his handling ability. But this throw reminded me of one of Jimmy Mickle's finest flicks.
Well, when you only have 14 players playing at the moment, you got to expand what you're doing.
And Laurie with a yard or two to spare in the back of the end zone. Kai Marshall with the assist, and now Bennett the pull.
How many times can Atlanta answer without their D taking some of the pressure off?
Tennell beginning this point downfield rather than in the handler set. And Laviolette throws it away to give the Roughnecks a short field opportunity. Bennett looking end zone. Peterson gets there. Dallas back up by 2. 8:50 to play.
This is the first time in the game where the body language seems to have switched 180 degrees. Atlanta hustle, some hands on their knees, some hands on their hips after that point, knowing that they're letting the game slip a little further out of reach. Versus Dallas charging out onto the field. Knowing the importance of that point.
Atlanta back on offense, now trailing by 2. Under 9 minutes to play. And Tennell takes charge this time in the handler set. Olsen came to it just enough. Lolly.
Dallas playing a shell of their own. He's got Thor on the break side. He needs to get it over there. Neither team really using the width of the field. Pretty content to just jam it.
That low throw, not enough on it from Choi. Now that's right on the line. Is that an unforced error? Do you give Dallas's defense some credit? Goes in the book as an unforced error, even though they were providing some good pressure downfield. And here's a 50-50 with Frood in pursuit. And Frood gets to the high point and then goes down near the sideline. Stall count was rising on Smith. He had nothing near the disc, so he just launched it. Frood has popped up. He's walking off the field under his own power. Kinda.
Maybe have gotten the ankle.
Yeah, the right ankle got a little tangled up with Turner. Appears to be okay. And Dallas did take a timeout with just under 8 minutes to go.
I wonder if we're going to see Matt Jackson on the field as these numbers continue to dwindle. Not yet.
Frood out of the University of Missouri. 10 goals, 19 assists, 12 Ds with the Madison Radicals a year ago.
You and I had the opportunity to sit down with Jay Frood at championship weekend. I mean, talk about a guy that not only is an up-and-coming player in the sport, but a real character guy. Kind of one of those guys you just like to hang out with.
It's hard not to like him. The way he plays the game, the way he carries himself. And a young, talented player. I know Madison was sad to lose him. Just like the New York Empire were sad to lose Chris Mazer. Had New York roots, thought he was going to play with New York a year ago, but his other life opportunities took him to Texas. He has found a home as a captain of the reigning AUDL champs. On the quick reset.
And there you see Mazer just working Thor on the mark. Looked like they were initially doing more of a straight up, allowing the open side throw off.
Is this an absurd comparison? I've been thinking about it all day. Abe Coffin is like Dylan Freechild light, with a mixture of quickness and changing direction cuts and fantastic throws, not unbelievable size. I mean, they even look a little bit alike. He doesn't have the black smear on his face like Dylan does.
Or maybe the attitude.
That's a fair comment as well. 23-20, the Roughnecks now up by 3. Now, there's definitely a similarity there between Coffin and Freechild, the way they play. We're getting close to must-score territory for Atlanta. Looking for Tennell deep. And off his hands and then in his hands.
Beautiful.
On the second effort, Tennell makes the catch and finds Leonard for the score.
And that's just the old veteran, knowing the importance of that moment, using everything he can to focus that one in.
Determination and concentration to make the play.
Now, we've said it for the last 25 minutes or so, but if Atlanta's going to have any chance of making a run at this game, feels like it needs to happen now. You thought after the first point layout block early in the quarter that they might have been able to build off of some of that momentum, but Dallas was able to answer right back and extend their lead.
Malachek has it to Mazer. Malachek launching. There goes Coffin. Abe Coffin with a left paw. Able to make the catch. Back to Frood. And then back to Coffin. And Coffin seems to be saying that he fouled Olsen. So they're going to give the disc back to Frood, and he's going to have to march 10 yards backwards.
And Atlanta defenders really just getting turned around on that play.
There's a case to be made. If there's a foul on the offense on a receiver downfield, that this could be Atlanta's disc. And that, I believe, is what the discussion is about right now. Because if Coffin doesn't push off there, offensive pass interference is a turnover.
I think that's what they're going to call. Looks like they're calling a turnover.
It will be Atlanta's disc.
And this could be a huge moment in this game if Atlanta's able to score this one. Now, if you're Swanson, do you put the offense in here?
You have limited number of timeouts. You have 6:48 to play.
You can't take them with you.
And Frood got the D, but it was deflected into the grasp of Lally. Right spot, right time for Paul Lally.
How many near misses?
Lally has produced in this league. He's one of just 22 players in the history of the league to have 50 goals in a season. That crossfield shot works out, and Mazer drilled Burns after the catch.
That's an interest, and that's a call I was talking to some of the Atlanta guys about. Like, that's almost an intentional foul there. You know, he's allowing the defense to now get set up. They have basically a double team now where he was going to have a wide open throw for a goal. And so should that be a bigger deal?
They're able to punch it in. That's one break back. Burns to Lally. And Paul Lally tracks down the disc deep into the forest to bring it back after the spike rolled away.
You almost wonder if there should be an advantage in that situation.
I think that's a totally fair point. Check out this play that Frood's not going to get any credit for.
Beautiful D. And look at Frood just using his, you know, body to not impact the other player. Good body control. And a beautiful throw by Lally on that.
Lally had 50 goals 2 years ago for the NightWatch. Mentioned there are 22 players to have 50 goals in a season. It's been done 27 times. Cameron Brock's done it 5 years in a row for Indianapolis. Misha Freistadter has done it each of the last 2 years. And then there are 20 other guys in the history of the league to have at least 50 goals in a season.
How many 95-goal seasons?
That's only happened once by Mr. Freistadter with Jacksonville a year ago. Great vision from Coffin, and he puts it right on the money. And nice footwork near the end zone by Marshall. How about that toss from Abe Coffin? Are you kidding me?
Beautiful.
24-22. 5 minutes and change remaining here in the fourth.
And you're seeing both teams having some success attacking that far left downfield corner. Instead of jamming it down the right sideline, they're able to cross the field and find their open guys. It takes two things. One, the cutter to be over there, and two, the thrower to have the wherewithal to look.
Matt Bennett launches another backhand pull. Tennell will pick up the disc.
Atlanta coming out with a spread look. And they have a release on Matt Smith.
Underneath the bush instead. Slices it through for Lally, who hasn't played that much offense before today. And Lally apparently was cleanly hand blocked according to the refs. Looking to the end zone here. Nice job by Marshall coming back to the disc. And Larberg pays it off for the Dallas score.
Brutal turn of events for Atlanta. They're working so hard to get these defensive breaks just to give them right back to Dallas. And we're entering that point of the game, 5 minutes left. Dallas smelling blood in the water. Is Atlanta going to be able to keep themselves in this game to give them a last-second chance?
Taylor, we've seen plenty of ebbs and flows through the course of this game. Dallas looked good early, was up 7-4 at the end of one. And then Atlanta with a quick 5-2 run early in the second quarter to tie it up at 9s. Took their first lead at 13-12.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of energy that it takes to come back in a game and get yourself back into the game, it takes that same amount of energy to then take the lead once you've gotten all the way back. And Atlanta has not shown the ability to extend any sort of lead on Dallas.
The layout D from the coach, Patrick Eberle, just bid, and he was fouled in the process.
And it just feels like this game's about to get away from Atlanta.
Eberle gets it to Bennett. High release flick to the end zone for Smith. No, not this time. Certainly released that throw with some swagger, though.
Oh, yeah.
Closing in on 4 minutes to play.
That's trouble.
That's not going to work. Only good news is it wasn't a Callahan. But Bennett is in a hurry. And that's too easy for the Roughnecks. On the second day of a back-to-back, Dallas has found the reserve tanks. And the energy from the champs still very much alive.
And this is where good teams show their hand. You know, they can keep the game close and just have that confidence that at the end, bang, bang, they can extend that lead.
Saw the catch block from Eberle. And then watch this cut from Bacon. Look at what he does. He didn't do anything. He just stood there. And finally, Bennett, with a couple fakes, set up the space for Bacon to make the wide open clap catch. Atlanta needs points, and they need them quickly. And you look at how Dallas continues to exert the defensive pressure on the pull. That one hanging up. Not timed well enough by Turner.
Kind of a misread there. I'm sure Lolly was thinking he just was going to run that one out. And with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left, how aggressive is Dallas?
Well, they play what they play, and they do it really well. Laurie runs it down. It was about a 65-yard flick. Cross field for Frood.
That was a beautiful throw.
Jay Frood does it again for the Roughnecks. And with 3 minutes to play, Dallas on its way to another victory in the South Division. The Roughnecks are in the midst of their toughest stretch of the season. After today, they get Nashville at home next week. You'd expect that to be a comfortable win for Dallas. But the following weekend is when things could get tricky for these Roughnecks, because they play at Jacksonville on Friday, May 12th. And then they're at Raleigh the very next night, Saturday, May 13th. The game we'll have for you on AUDL.TV along with the 11 Sports Network. And as of right now, that stands out as their toughest test of the year. They also have a trip to Madison coming up early June. Dylan Tennell stares down Matt Bennett and flips it to the end zone, and what a great scene. Bennett got up and basically gave Tennell a hug after he got skied by the legend. Tennell picks up another assist to make it 27-23.
Seemed like just a moment of frustration for Dylan there. Yeah.
Bennett posterized a little bit. Laviolette with the score.
Easy to not be too upset by that when you're up by 5. You know, if you're Atlanta right now, you're almost just playing out the rest of this game for the next time, just to build a little momentum. You did such a good job staying in, keeping it close, just to let them blow out a 4 to 5 goal lead in the waning moments of the fourth quarter. That's got to be a hard it's hard to know what to say as the coach in that situation.
This game was 20-all with 9:33 to go. Dallas got a couple breaks, went up 23-20. Atlanta scored on offense and then got the break back. It was 23-22 when Raleigh scored with 5:52 left. But then 4 straight goals for the Roughnecks before that last score from La Violette.
How many timeouts is Atlanta going to end this game with?
Still got 2.
I just look back at some key moments in this game where, you know, when you're playing against a juggernaut like Dallas, every goal matters. And I think that there were just some situations where maybe Atlanta, you know, and they could have put their offense out there and they could have turned it, but you expect your offense to be a higher percentage. So.
How about that emphatic celebration from Mazur? A cathartic spike to cap off this 2-win weekend for Dallas. They do it again. Peterson and Mazur, a quick game of catch, and it's back to a 5-score difference. And
do you think Mazur got away with the travel there? Let's see it again. I guess not. Looks like he kept that foot down.
You might have called it. And
No. I was usually very low on the calling end. Getting him called on, now that might be a different story.
Tennell launching deep again. He's got 6 assists in the game. This one's going to be a throwaway intercepted by Anderson. Low throw given right back to the hustle. Atlanta's upcoming schedule. Well, they get to relax next weekend. They host Nashville 2 weeks from now. And then they go to Texas the weekend before Memorial Day. At Austin on the 20th, Saturday, and then Sunday the 21st at Dallas before they get to host Jacksonville again and get their rematch against the Cannons. You know, they're aching for it because their 2-point loss last week sits in a sour fashion.
It'll be interesting to see if that game matters at that point in the season. That Dallas-Austin road trip is so difficult. Having to fly and then play a game only to get in the car and drive several hours.
Dallas in no particular hurry with a 4-score lead and less than a minute to play. Malachek will haul that one in. There's certainly several different ways to look at this game, Taylor. And to start from the Dallas perspective, you got to be impressed with what this team continues to do. No let up, shorthanded, doesn't matter. They don't play their absolute best, but they still turn on the intensity at the right times. Abe Coffin, this might have been his breakout game as a Roughneck. And Dallas going to pick up their 22nd straight win. They're still perfect as a franchise that was founded at the start of the 2016 season.
And I think one of the things you're alluding to is just a not too high, not too low mentality that comes with a level of confidence that Dallas has, being undefeated, coming off of a national championship. You know, you want to be always managing that emotional energy. And when things are going well, it's easy to get overly hyped and have a little setback. And when things are going poorly, it's easy to get too low. And they've just stayed very even keel.
And you have the Atlanta perspective, which is going to be tough to take for the hustle. A missed opportunity. They were tied with Dallas with 9.5 minutes to play. And yet going to fall by 5, outscored 9-4 in these last 9:30.
I really thought Atlanta approached this game with a good game plan, and we're executing it well.
Tunnel, roaming, Anderson 2, back of the end zone, and thankfully our camera is not broken. That'll do it. The Dallas Roughnecks stay perfect. Unreal relentlessness from this franchise, and even without their captain Matt Jackson, injured with a broken arm, without Mickle and Freechild and Gibson. It's not about without, it's about who they did this with. And this group of 17 strong gets the job done behind head coach Patrick Eberly. Dallas improves to 5-0 this year. Dan Emmons made the catch of the day. We hope he's all right. Good to see him at least up on 2 feet. You can see him going gingerly. It's a good game, Taylor, a spirited game. These are two teams that competed hard. I don't think either one played their best, and yet Dallas does what they do. They win again.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up.
29-24 is the final score here from Grady Stadium in Atlanta. Next week we'll be out in Seattle. It's round 2 of the Cross Coast Challenge, the Seattle Cascades and the undefeated Pittsburgh Thunderbirds. We'll talk to you Saturday night out by the Space Needle in Seattle. But for now, we say so long for our Fulcrum Media-led crew and for my broadcast partner, Taylor Pope. Evan Leffler saying good night from Atlanta, Georgia, where the Dallas Roughnecks continue to look perfect.